Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Every week, I have the pleasure of having a meaningful conversation and breaking bread with entrepreneurs, authors, and renowned C-suite professionals. And today is no exception. It gives me great pleasure to warmly welcome Dr. Batra. Dr. Batra has put homeopathy on the world map in the last 4 decades, 200 cities, 7 countries, 150 cities, 200 clinics. What can I say? Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Batra. Welcome, Dr. Batra.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to be here.
An absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure. We met in Dubai not too long ago when we were introduced by our dear friend, Dr. Vivek Mendonca. And we had the pleasure of exchanging books. So it's an exciting time for me to sort of learn more about your journey and share some of the insights and wisdom of your journey with the those watching today.
Yes, Gautam, it's taken 3 months from meeting you personally and meeting you across the screen. So yes, it's been quite a long time, but I'm so happy to be here and to be chatting with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. One question I love to ask all my guests is, what is your personal why? What's your purpose? What's your why? When you get up every morning, over 4 decades, you've been in this line of business. You built an empire, of over 200 clinics. So what drives you every day to get up? What's your personal why, Dr. Batra?
I think personal why is really different for every person. That's why you call it a personal why. And, my personal why really is a passion. But the common thing behind all whys is the passion. All entrepreneurs have a passion to grow their business. They have a vision and they have a drive to make sure that the vision comes true. It's exactly the same with me. I've, started very small, earning 150 rupees a month in a charitable clinic, and then grew up over the years to actually build what I have today. And, it really comes from a strong belief in yourself, a great passion in taking homeopathy to the world and making sure that maximum people get benefited. Our byline is healing people, changing lives. And it makes me very happy every time I see a life being changed for the better is what drives me really. And if I can do it, not only through me now, but through 400 doctors that I have, that's a bonus because we can then reach out to many more people.
Fantastic, fantastic. No, I really appreciate you sharing that. And I know that you've come from very humble beginnings and grown this empire over the last 4 decades. And passion is something that's very important to each one of us. But again, you're transforming lives. You're making a difference in people's lives, not only in India, but globally. I know you have offices and centers in the Middle East and also in Europe. So it's really something that is very inspirational. I'd love to hear from you some perhaps.
Thank you. I see a lot of young people today, who kind of really are not focused. I think it's also about having focus, because we keep changing our roles. We keep changing, from one point to another. We keep changing jobs so frequently. I'm just reminded of a little couplet which I'd like to say. कदम चूम लेती है मंजिल आकर, कदम चूम लेती है मंजिल आकर, अगर राही खुद अपनी हिम्मत ना हारे. So, failure is stepping stone to success. We should not get discouraged or upset just because we didn't get the first goal that we wanted. But there's always a long-term goal. There's a long-term vision. And again, lage raho munna bhai. If you actually are, keep trying again and again, you will certainly succeed. So don't give up so easily. That's my mantra.
Fantastic. No, thank you for sharing that mantra, and very valid for the young leaders today, where we see people change jobs, change careers so frequently. But, try until you succeed. Stay focused, and that's something that really resonates with your philosophy of life and your journey. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe you could share a couple of landmark achievements in this 4-decade journey of yours, Dr. Batra.
So, Gautam, it's very difficult to select one landmark, achievement when you had like 50 years of, like a golden jubilee run. Very
Absolutely.
difficult to say which movie really did well, when you had so many golden jubilees. But I think my passion really has been really to, like I said, to drive homeopathy, to take it to many countries. And I think every time when I've succeeded entering a new country and then establishing homeopathy and making it popular there, I think that's a landmark for me. And then every patient that I've healed or has healed through me or through my clinics, that's for me a landmark, So I would say, for example, when I addressed the House of Commons, at the House of Commons when I gave a talk on why they should have an alternative. About a few years ago, I said, they are now, fighting for breakfast or Brexit, and they're talking about, getting out of the European Union. But do people really have a choice, of treatment? And why should they not have a choice? If it's truly a free country, you should have a choice to choose whatever kind of treatment that you want to choose, So I did address that, and that was very well received. So similarly, I took homeopathy to Mauritius. That was another landmark. I got some international awards, including one in Dubai as well. But I think, of course, the best award that you like and the kind of recognition that you get from your own people is something that's always closer to your heart. So, I would say my Padma Shri award that I got 2012 for medicine. As you know, very few people are recognized, but recognition from your own country and from your own people and from your own government, I think is something that you value very much, and something that inspires you then to do better for people all around you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And what I heard you say, one landmark is the growth way beyond India. Obviously, you started off with India, but you've grown globally. And second, and most importantly, for any successful leader like yourself, any entrepreneurs, that you've impacted many lives and you've got success stories where people have had transformations in their health due to the, consultation with you and your network, and had progress in their lives. So those transformational stories is what sort of drives you each and every day, and be able to do that across countries, across continents, is phenomenal. And obviously, the Padma Shri Award acknowledgement speaks for itself, of leaps and bounds of your credibility and the impact that you've had in your business and in your journey. So congratulations to you once again.
Thank you very much, Gautam. And you know that in India also we are in over 100 cities, and health is a state subject. So you're governed actually by every local rules as well. So it's actually like working in 26 different countries, even though you're in one country, India. So that's quite a challenge,
Yes.
actually.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Having moved here a couple of years ago, I said each city in India is like a country on its own, or at least every state is a country. That's for sure. So that's wonderful. I had the pleasure. This is your book, as I can see here, which I was the Nation's Homeopath. Phenomenal. I mean, what inspired you to write this book at this time? And could you share some perhaps insights into your autobiography?
So it's actually a kind of a personal biography and a business biography. So in that sense, it's a
Right.
kind of a mixture of the two. It's like I would say, like how they talk about EVs today, electric vehicles, like a hybrid model. So this biography is really a hybrid model because it talks about my life. I believe that's very important because my childhood years and the value systems that you have actually are the foundations of what you will do in your later life, especially in entrepreneurship. So it's very, very important that that you have a very strong value based system on which you will base your career or your growth in
Right.
later life. So it was important for me to talk about that as well. And then, of course, how I grew the company and how I founded it, and the challenges that I faced, the failures that I had. And the idea really is to talk about it so that other people and young entrepreneurs and other business people don't have to go through the same challenges that I had to face. So I took out this book on my 70th birthday, published it on my 70th birthday. HarperCollins published it, which was 1st July. And so now it's been many months in the May, already out in the market, and I'm happy to say that it's doing extremely well. But the idea was that more people should read it, and more people should be encouraged, and they should benefit from it, so that they don't have to go through the same learning process that I went through. I just thought I'd share my life and I'd share my business enterprise with other people, so that they could learn from the mistakes I've made, and they could actually, hopefully, life will be easier for other people.
Fantastic, fantastic. No, thanks for sharing that. And your book is available, I'm sure, at all leading bookstores and obviously on Amazon. I encourage each of you to get a copy for you and your families. And one thing that you shared, Dr. Batra, is that the biggest learnings comes from, call it our failures, call it our challenges that we go through. And people from the outside could look at you and say, "Wow, he's so lucky. He's achieved such great success. He's globally recognized. His brand is well known amongst many households, be it celebrities, be it entrepreneurs, be it the everyday household. When it comes to homeopathy, your name is omnipresent in people's minds. But behind that 50-year journey are a lot of challenges, both personally and professionally. And that's really where, as you said, if we can learn, if our younger um, entrepreneurs and leaders can learn from your journey, then it helps them to have a shorter journey to success and at least not repeat those same sort of challenges that you've shared in your book. So thank you once again for publishing this book.
Thank you, Gautam.
I
It's just
believe
not
it's
about homeopathy. The book is not about homeopathy. People think because it's called The Nation's Homeopath, it's a book about homeopathy. It is not. Wait for my other books, which are going to be on homeopathy. But this one is not. And my previous books have been. But this one is really about my entrepreneurial journey and about my life. So it's not just for any entrepreneur. It's also for, there are lots of life lessons which for everybody to read and learn. So I think it's a learning book for anybody who wants to improve their life.
fantastic. Fantastic. No, thank you. Thank you so much. So obviously we're living in challenging times. This is the sort of so-called third wave of COVID. It's now coming up to nearly 2 years where we've been in and out of working virtually, working in a hybrid model, and these challenging times, a lot of work from home. And medicine, as you say, healthcare has been on the top of everyone's mind, whether it's eating right, whether it's exercising daily, whether it's, maintaining social distancing, etc. But what I'd like to hear from you is, what has homeopathy's role been during these challenging times in terms of giving people, let's say, resilience, in terms of strengthening people? What has homeopathy's role been during these challenging times, especially the last 2 years?
So very good question, Gautam. Very, very relevant in today's times. Let me divide the question into kind of 2 or 3 parts. The first part is the pandemic part. About 100 years ago, when the earlier pandemic came, homeopathic medicines were useful at that time, and they gave almost a 30% better results as compared to what at that time whatever medicines gave, whatever were available gave. So homeopathy is actually proved to be useful in pandemics as a preventive. There's a lot of preventive medicine that one can use, and similarly, the Ayush Ministry in India has actually recommended a homeopathic medicine called arsenic album, which can be taken, 3 times a day, once in a month, to build immunity and to prevent falling sick from COVID. So the preventive part of homeopathy is one part which is a very important part and has been already proved in the past, and that's something that will continue to be there today and even tomorrow, in future as well, even with other pandemics. The second thing is that because in the early stages you can also use homeopathy according to symptoms, even before the diagnosis being established. So you can actually start treatment much earlier, even when early symptoms come, and that's the other benefit. The other thing that you see is that there's a lot of long COVID happening. So a lot of side effects of COVID which linger for a long time. Now a lot of these are also mental health issues. The number of patients in second wave of COVID have increased almost 25% more, patients of anxiety and depression as compared to what it was pre-COVID,
Right.
So there has been a lot of anxiety, depression, mental health issues, isolation, loneliness, the way we deal with people, the emotional connect or disconnect that we have because we can't physically meet, relationships are broken. Relationships are broken because of separation of people, but it's also broken because people are together too often, and therefore the husband and wife keep fighting with each other because they're happy when one of them was or both of them were outside the home. So these are issues which emotional health and mental health is a very strong aspect of homeopathy because it's holistic medicine. So it can actually help people also in the mental phase of these challenging times. So you just don't have to fall sick or be a COVID patient to actually take homeopathy. You can take it, anytime to feel happy, to feel good, and to just stay well.
Fantastic. What I'm hearing is prevention better than cure as well in many ways, is what you're sharing here.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, when I talk of the last couple of years and when you mention anxiety and stress, I don't want to go too much in the media and about that, but to me, these WhatsApp forwards, the news and the newspapers definitely add a lot of stress and anxiety to people when you consume the news and internalize that, because that plays on your emotional state of mind and increases the stress and anxiety. And that's the first defense, the mind. It's the first defense of your immunity. So when you are consuming news, then you've also got to manage that. Slightly off topic, but in the sense, you
Yeah, so
encourage people to sort of manage the news?
So I think Dr. WhatsApp is actually largely to blame, and social media
Yes,
as well, because there's so much
absolutely.
of there's very good information coming there, but there's a lot of misinformation coming as well. So you
Yes.
get well-meaning people who want to keep blasting information which is not actually true, which is hearsay, which is just heard from somebody else. You know, all kinds of stand up on your head, and do C session and you'll become all right. You know, use dried ginger up your nostrils and shove it up, and then you'll be all right. You know, I'm I'm saying some of it works actually, but a lot of it doesn't work. So I think it's very, very important that that you really take it with a pinch of salt, not just put it in your nose or in your throat, but actually take all the information with a pinch of salt and really go to a professional trained doctor for advice and help. Don't depend on social media for medical advice, at least.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And I know myself, I read a book called Yes Attitude many years ago. And the advice it said is stop reading the newspaper or watching the news. And I haven't
They
seen
say
the
bad
news.
news is good news. Uh, so somewhere it's better. No news is the best news. That's the
Absolutely.
that's the policy of Maldives. When you go there for a holiday vacation, they say it's no shoes and no news.
No
you
shoes
know
and no news.
so you leave your shoes
I
behind
love
and
it.
you leave your news behind, and one of the biggest, I think, challenges of this generation and for all of us is not just a physical detox and a mental detox, but it's also a digital detox. I think we're so overloaded with information and it keeps playing on our mind all the time. I'm saying, what do we do? First thing in the morning we wake up, we put on our phone. you know Last thing in the night we want to see what are the messages that come, and all of them are not happy messages. Somebody's dying,
Correct.
somebody's been killed somewhere, somebody's uh, been raped somewhere. I mean, all kinds of really, not happy messages.
Correct.
Because, like I said, no news is good news for rumor mongers. That's what keeps the Chinese whispers going, and that's
Yes.
what we see, and that's what we see. Look at last thing when we sleep, and first thing in the morning when we wake up. So I think it's important that we digitally detox ourselves as well, and
Correct.
not
Correct.
just
No,
physically and
absolutely.
mentally.
Absolutely resonate with what you're sharing. I mean, we haven't had any newspaper for since January 2009. So 12 years I've not seen or read a newspaper, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Disconnecting from the news, and yes, being selective in what you read, because what you read, what you listen to, what you watch becomes a part of you because it goes into your conscious level. So thanks for sharing that, and I think that's something that we need to consider is about digital detox as well. So, on a lighter note, homeopathy and better skin, that seems to have come up as a question, and people asking that how can homeopathy help us have better skin? So, that's on a lighter note. This would welcome your insights on that, Dr. Batra.
Well, you can see my skin at 70. I'm saying no wrinkles, no nothing, no
Phenomenal.
Botox.
I think you age froze at
So
60. It's like
you know
permanent.
it really works well. I think really the important thing to note here, like I said, is that a lot of skin problems are really emotional as well, and they are hormonal. So what you need is not a superficial thing. What you need is an internal thing. You need something from within. Now that can only happen, for example, just let me take a very simple example of acne or pimples. It's so common, but why do pimples happen? It happens A, because of hormonal changes. B, it can also happen because of PCOD. We see in a lot of young girls, little hair on the chin, irregular periods, acne on their face, but actually there's something wrong with the ovaries. They have ovarian cysts. So the skin is the mirror of good health. Let's understand that. It's the largest organ, and it's also the mirror of good health. So looking at the skin, whether it's too dry, whether it's too oily, whether there are marks on it, whether there is pigmentation, whether there are pimples, you can actually make out whether the skin is healthy and whether a human being is healthy or not, and whether the patient is healthy. So it's actually a reflection of your internal being. Now, if that is true, then you can't rub it off with just creams and with lotions and with ointments. It needs a proper treatment. It needs a holistic treatment, and it needs treatment from within as well. So that's really what I want to convey as far as homeopathy and better skin is concerned. It's also emotional. I'm saying it's not just, it's also emotional. Lots of young girls break up into acne when they are more anxious. The more anxious they are, the more they worry about it, the more the eruptions come up. And when the eruptions come more, then they worry more. So it's a vicious cycle which needs to be broken.
Thank you so much for those valuable
I mean,
insights.
lots of skin problems are actually psychosomatic. Uh, Even things like psoriasis, for example, eczemas, acne, lots of them get aggravated really from stress. So homeopathy being holistic, mind and body medicine, it really helps a lot, and that's something that I would recommend. And also, it's safe. What's important is it two things. I think number one is it doesn't suppress ailments. When you apply an ointment superficially, it just suppresses it for the time being. After some
Correct.
time, it comes up again. Homeopathy treats from the root, so it goes deep within, treats it from the root, and gives you a kind of a permanent solution, if there can be one, from skin problems. So I think that's the real thing. And the second thing is it's safe. It has no side effects. So you don't have lingering effects of something else. Sometimes, like they say, that that the drug is worse than the disorder. So you get more lingering symptoms of side effects of medication. And there's a research which has shown, for example, in America, that every day iatrogenic disorders, which are drug induced disorders, 300 people die every day, which is equivalent of a plane crash, in America alone. And nobody talks about it. If a plane was to crash, there would be such a huge international noise about it. But every day 300 people are dying of a side effect of some medicine or the other, only in America alone. And nobody talks about it. So I think people are looking for safer alternatives, and homeopathy is one of them.
I absolutely agree, and it's something I know my mom has instilled in our family. Homeopathy, you talk of, it's safe, it's natural, and it's long term. And she always says, again, prevention better than cure. So I can really endorse what you've shared from personal experience. Thank you, Dr. Batra. I'd like to take a moment. We'd like to acknowledge one of our guests who said, Dr. Batra and Gautam, such a lovely interaction and pleasant pleasure listening. That's from Manoj Lekrajani.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your comment and good wishes.
Great. So, Dr. Batra, when we met in Dubai, I gifted you a copy of my book, which is Breaking Bread. So, what does breaking bread mean to you, Dr. Batra? When someone uses the term breaking bread, what does that mean to you?
Well, we are breaking bread right now. Breaking bread can start from a conversation, but
Sure.
it's a lot to do with networking. I think, for me, breaking bread is actually networking, and it's having one-to-one interactions with people, which can then help your business to grow at some stage or the other. So you don't start a conversation with the idea of getting benefit, but it ultimately leads somewhere. We met like 3 months ago through a common friend in Dubai. We just met over a cup of coffee and some conversation. And today I'm talking with you live, and we are, chatting, and there's something good that's come out of it. So I think for me, breaking bread really means networking. It means meeting people on a personal level, trying to understand what is it that one can do, better with each other. How can one help each other, and how can one actually, communicate in such a way where there's mutual benefit for both parties. I think that's, according to me, is breaking bread.
Fantastic. Yes, breaking bread is, as we said, positive energy exchange between two people and a journey as well.
And I have read
Perhaps,
your wonderful book, and I really enjoyed it very much. Thank you for putting it together. Particularly the little anecdotes that you put in, and the comments of people, and the experiences that they've had while they were breaking bread.
fantastic. In your 4 decades, Dr. Batra, is there a story of a particular breakfast, lunch, dinner meeting that you had, which you could share as one breaking bread story from your experience?
So there are many experiences that I've had really breaking bread, because otherwise I won't be where I am today. If you stand on the shoulders of others, that's what I believe. So there have been many experiences. But just to give an example, for example, when I went to Mauritius to start my clinic over there, I was wanting to launch my clinic, and a local journalist said that, why don't you go and meet the vice president, and he'd like to inaugurate your clinic. So I spoke to him on the phone, and he said, I'll be very happy to come, but you come and meet me. So when I went to meet him, he was livid, because in French, clinic means hospital. And he said, I really, Dr. Batra, you don't expect the vice president of a country to inaugurate a room. I still remember him saying that, and he was absolutely livid. He said, I'm a Queen's Counsel, and homeopathy is not recognized in my country, and I'll put you behind bars. Then luckily, I managed to notice something, and we got talking with each other, and I said, sir, I can help you. And that kind of broke bread. And then he was very taken up by what I said and my understanding of the problem that he had. And then I started treating him, and obviously he got better. And then, to cut a long story short, ultimately then homeopathy was legislated into Mauritius for the first time.
Wow.
So that's really an example of breaking bread, and there are many such
Phenomenal.
examples.
I'm sure there are many examples. That's one of the beautiful things about breaking bread. It's as you said, it's you have breakthroughs, you build relationships, and there's a positive energy exchange. So over time, I'm sure you've had many stories that have helped during your legacy in terms of people you've met over the years. We have another beautiful comment. Some great to hear you, Dr. Batra and Gautam. I liked your highlights on stress impact and homeopathy's holistic approach. Thank you for sharing your comments on the conversation we've had today. So, Dr. Batra, as we wrap up our conversation for today, any closing comments or thoughts you'd like to share with those listening in today?
Well, I really didn't hear your question very well, but I suppose you asked me to share some messages, right?
I said, any closing messages that you'd like to share as we wrap up? Any closing messages you'd like to share?
No, closing is just thank you very much for breaking bread with me. For me, that was very important, and I'm glad that we met and that we could have this conversation. And I hope that people will benefit from it. My message really is that look after yourself, because if you don't look after yourself, nobody will look after you. And if you're not happy from within, nobody will be happy. You can't make other people happy. So I think look at happiness from within, look at internal happiness, look at joy from within, and don't depend on outside people and the world really to make you happy. So I think and look at holistic happiness, look at holistic health, look at mind body health together. I mean, COVID has taught us, for example, that if we are not fit, we cannot survive. So I think we need to start looking at building immunity when we are well and not when we are sick, and start moving from sickness and cures to prevention. That's really what is important. So stay mentally healthy, stay emotionally healthy, and stay physically healthy throughout the year, so that you don't fall sick and don't become prey to any kind of epidemic or any other disease that may happen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Batra. I'd like to take this one question before we wrap up, which you can see on the screen. Dr. Batra, can homeopathy permanently cure allergies and similar issues? Also, how about improving gut health on a permanent basis?
So gut health, yes. So for both things, yes, homeopathy is a very good treatment. So let me first tell you a little bit about allergies. So allergies, homeopathy believes, is a hyperreaction to something which is normal for other people. So for example, if you are allergic to bread, we're not talking about breaking bread now, but we're just talking about bread, and or wheat in that sense. If you're going to eat gluten and you're allergic to it, it'll cause a lot of problems in your stomach. You'll get loose motions, you'll get pain, or you may get any other symptom as well. So that's why you're allergic. So you're allergic because you're hypersensitive. So what homeopathy does is it builds down your sensitivity level over a period of time. So your physical and emotional sensitivity has to come down. It's the same with gut. Gut health is very important. It is said that the stomach is a sounding board of human emotions. So what you're thinking in your mind, it's been reflected in your stomach. So things like constipation can be a rebellious response in children. They don't want to pass stool because they want to tell their parents, go get off. I don't want to listen to you. Similarly, IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, which is very common these days, also is found in people who are very stressful, very anxious, worry a lot, are great achievers. So the stomach does have something to do with your emotion. And homeopathy, again, because it's mind and body medicine, can actually help you in both ways. So do turn to homeopathy, go to a good qualified homeopath and get yourself treated.
Thank you so much, Dr. Batra. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to spend this valuable time with you and break bread virtually. Once again, congratulations on the launch of your new book. I know it's been out for some time, but it's in all leading bookstores. And I encourage all those watching today to get your copy for you and your family and learn of Dr. Batra's entrepreneurship journey spanning well over 4 decades, putting homeopathy on the map, not only in India, but globally. Thank you, Dr. Batra. Wishing you all the very best. Have a good evening and God bless.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and wonderful to break bread with you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.